Dude, we are live. Hey, season 3. We are back.
I like this, too. I like this.
We bringing it. Bringing it. It's that raw, man. That's what we do over here.
All that weight I lost, I gained it back through the social distancing.
All right, man.
Got released, did another prison sentence. So many days that I spent repenting, cause things not going the way I envision.
Here we go.
I'm rapping like me from a different dimension.
All right, here we go.
Bitches. You were struggling vicious, wishing that you hit me.
All right.
Now you call that other nigga your baby daddy. Wet work.
That's Gino Pacino with Raw, man. He is opening up season 3 for us. Oh, no, the name of the song is Pure. Gino Pacino, you can find that at musicspool.com. What's to it? Eric McLeod, what's happening, man?
What is going on, Big Stu? We made it to season 3. Season 3, can you believe it? Season 3 of the Money, Sex, Gen X podcast. We are opening up 2021 with a gigantic bang.
Wow.
How are you doing, sir?
I am well, man. I continue to push through. Glad to be here, 2021.
So I am Mr. Eric McLeod, the man with the plan, the guy that made him cry, and I do consider myself the Scottie Pippen of podcast pimping.
Indeed. Let me get you right. Take your time. You are the Scottie Pimpin'. Scottie Pippen. This is you right here, ain't it? Ain't that you?
That's me.
All right, that's you.
So
Indeed.
if I'm Scottie Pippen, man, my co-host here is absolutely Rasheed Wallace.
Wow.
Rasheed is one of my favorite NBA players. You're the Rasheed Wallace of the podcast situation. You are a music mogul in the making with your company Music Spool, and you are absolutely a titan of team tech with your company Genius Lab.
Indeed.
And the man I'm talking about is Mr. Big Stu.
Hey. Bo. We are back. I'm here in the center. I'm holding it down. I'm holding it down for you, man. I got your back.
That's good to see.
I got your back, man. Yeah.
So, I'm going to ask this question. And, some people, we got a couple of feedbacks on our intros, but we like to do this, so we're going to do it. How have you been since October 25th when we wrapped season 2?
I'm better, man. I'm better. I hear a lot of people talk about how 2020 was a tough year, and I work really hard to mind my words. So I'm conscious not to speak certain words, but 2020 was challenging. And since season 2, the end of season 2, between then and now, I'm a better man. I'm stronger and I'm more focused. Okay. That's how I am. And I know I'm strong because I made it through the end of 2020. How about you?
Salute to that. Yeah, man. I mean, every year it's a lot of reflection at the end of the year. I did a lot of reflecting, trying to gain some more knowledge of self, knowledge of business, knowledge of family. And I feel stronger. I feel good.
Yeah.
Going 2021, I feel really good. I feel good about what we're doing here.
Yeah, we got a good season on deck, man. A great season planned for the folks, man.
Yeah, man. We got some good topics. And thank you, everybody out there who texted us and emailed us feedback. We got a lot of great feedback on the first 2 seasons.
Yeah. Let's make sure that we let the folks know something that we have now that we did not have before is we have a dedicated website.
We do.
So not only can you catch season 1 and season 2, but you can also cop you some merch at moneysexgenxpodcast.com.
Yes, you can.
I'm actually rocking a joint. I'm rocking a long sleeve from. We got jackets and hoodies and socks and mugs and
everything,
man. What's up, man?
And those hoodies are my favorite. You know, when you all go to the site, you'll see there's a lot of different flavors you can get those hoodies in.
Right.
Red, black, green, blue, all of these nice colors. So
I think they even got pink. We got pink up there and all of that, man.
Yeah, there's some nice flavors on the hoodies. So I can't wait to get the additional ones that I ordered in so I can rock them. But yeah, go to the site, moneysexgenxpodcast.com. Like Big Stu said, you will find all of the previous episodes. And I know some people like to listen to the show on audio. So we got all the major audio platforms. Some people want to see the video. You can see the videos right there. And you can feel free to leave us a review of the show also there.
And leave your comments right here, right now. Leave your comments. We may showcase it here on the screen. So leave your comments and visit our website. Sign up, moneysexgenxpodcast.com.
Yes. All right. Bridget Scarborough says, great. Congrats on your development. Absolutely. We appreciate that.
Nice.
So we are going to have an interesting conversation today. This is something that I've been looking forward to talking about for quite some time. And that is this poverty conversation.
Oh. What is this about this poverty conversation?
So this poverty conversation, one of the key words that's in this title to the show is the word still.
Yeah.
Right? That was very strategic on our part. And the reason why is because this conversation is more of a middle class conversation, upper middle class conversation, right? That's the context which we wanted to have this conversation in. We got a new person, Rageb Tabez. Welcome to the show.
Welcome. He wants to know, they want to know, what is this? I'm new here. Well, just stick around. Just stick around. Hang out. We're having an intelligent conversation.
Absolutely.
From the next perspective. Yeah.
We might learn something. We might learn something from you. So yeah, we wanted to approach this from a middle class perspective, an upper middle class perspective, because I think that, and tell me your thoughts on this, Stu. I think sometimes people feel like the middle class, and particularly the upper middle class, are good. Yeah. They don't really have any issues as it relates to poverty. How do you feel?
Man. You know, up until just a few years ago, I assumed that when we talked about poverty, we only meant it from a financial perspective. And so to hear you say that just because you're a middle class, upper middle class, or even uber class, that poverty, you don't have a poverty mindset, like money solves all problems. But I don't believe that. I think it extends well beyond cash, the conversation of cash. I think you can have a poverty mindset in so many other areas that transcend cash.
Couldn't agree more. I put something up on Facebook that was I felt this one when I found it, but it said, it was a quote that said, failing to reach one's full capacity as a human being is also poverty.
Wow. So how do you approach still having a poverty mindset? From what does that mean to you?
Well, before we dive into that, I want to go into our actual factuals real quick, right? So I'm gonna say what it means to me, but then I'm gonna also start out with giving the classic definitions of poverty, and I'm gonna read this. So they say that this is something that I found. It said generational poverty is defined as a family having lived in poverty for at least 2 generations. It says a person or a family can experience situational poverty when their income and support is decreased due to a specific change, like losing a job, divorce, death, etc. And then I also saw a definition that said that it is the state of being inferior in quality or insufficient in amount, like having the poverty of imagination, for example. So, sort of an inferior sort of state of being. In terms of when we look at income, the research that I did, it says that the middle class, since we're doing it in this context, is defined in Illinois as a two-person family whose income ranges between $47,000 per year to $140,000 per year.
That's middle class?
In Illinois.
In Illinois. 47K to $140,000. $47K to $140K.
Yep, is
okay.
Middle class.
Middle class.
For a two-person family now. Now, anything above 140, you go into the upper middle class category.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to do the three-person family. In Illinois, three-person family is defined as middle class with incomes between $54,000 per year up to $162,000 per year. Three people family in Illinois. That is the middle class definition. So anything over 162 in Illinois will be defined as upper middle class.
Upper middle class. So you're saying if it's two adults or two people in the house, and they make 47 to 140K, they're middle class. If it's three, then it's like 54K to 162K.
That's right.
You're middle class.
That's
right.
But
I know a lot of folks then who are middle class but are poor.
What do you mean by that, sir?
Now, see, I'm reverting back to the mindset.
Okay.
You would think that they are in poverty, living paycheck to paycheck, stressing over bill payments, claiming to not be able to make certain moves in their lives because they don't have enough access or they can't do it or they're limited. All of that. That's how poor folks think. That's how poor people think.
Okay.
And so it clearly ain't about money. It clearly ain't about the income at this point.
True indeed. When we have these conversations, Stu, I always go back to myself, right? I can definitely say I've been one of those people in the past that had a poverty mindset. And I asked myself as we were preparing for this show, what did that look like? So I would do stuff, for example, like I would have money in the bank, but I would fill my gas tank up only halfway.
Wow.
And I know I'm not the only person out there that's done that.
Man, I know some folks that no matter what they got, they only put in 5 and 10. Why did you do that? Why did you only fill it up halfway?
That's a habit that I developed when I was younger, when I was like maybe in my teens, and I just still kept doing it. It's like, yo, bro, why are you putting $20 worth of gas in your car? But I had a poverty mindset. That's what it looked like.
So I'm thinking that I grew up, and I know, so I cannot act like I grew up with a silver spoon. I can't act like that I grew up poor either, right? My family had means, right? We had access. Up until my dad left. Now, when my dad left, I started to experience a little bit more real life poverty, like some winters with no heat poverty, like no hot water poverty.
Right.
Now, but I always, was raised, fill that tank up.
Yeah.
Like try to fill it up. And I thought that in a sense that was a poverty mindset as well. It's like always have cash and keep a gas tank full in case you run out of money.
True indeed.
Keep your gas tank full. You never know. You might run out of money. Now, I knew that was poverty mindset.
Yeah.
If you run out of money, at least you got gas in your car to get you someplace.
Absolutely. I hear you, man.
Crazy.
It's strange how we develop some of these habits. I mean, it probably started out of me maybe not having a lot of money, but I remember vividly doing this when I know I had the money in the bank. I'm putting in. And honestly, I still struggle with that to this day sometimes. I'll be like, come on, man, go ahead and fill this tank up. It's just one of those things with everybody got their little idiosyncrasies that feel, and that's one of them for me. It's like, I don't know. I couldn't even tell you where it started. Another one that comes to mind is I would have the money in the bank and still pay certain bills late.
Oh,
Especially a car note. That is something that I don't know what it was, but I would always, whenever I had a car, I would pay the car note late.
Well, I got something close to that, because I definitely have my share of paying bills late. But one of my poverty mindset behaviors was to always have cash. Like, even if it meant at the expense of not paying a bill.
Okay, I got you.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
Keep cash. Now, thanks to I worked with this guy. He owns this company called Hubris Global Wealth Management. I worked with him for a little over a year.
Okay.
And he really, really helped me get past that, because now I'm in a place, I had to get to a place of being comfortable with having all the bills paid, and money and food in the refrigerator, even if it meant I had $8 in the bank. Like, I had to get comfortable with having all the bills paid. When that wasn't my norm. My norm was, keep cash. That's a poor man's mindset. So let me go on record right now. When I say poverty mindset, I'm saying a poor man's mindset. You just thinking
poor man's mindset.
Poor man's mindset.
I thought about what am I really saying? So I used to live in the South when I was younger. I've lived in a lot of different cities, but when I was young, very young, we lived in a deep, deep South. And they had this saying, they would refer to a person who was very skinny as being po.
You po.
So they would be like, Eric, you po as hell.
Dang, because you ain't got no meat on.
I was super, you think I'm thin now? I was super thin. So they'd be like, and not just me, any skinny person, they'd be like, you po as hell.
Dang.
And so I always, that comment always stuck with me, because it's like, your mindset could be po as hell, right? You need to get some meat on it. You need to work out. You need to do whatever you need to do, some push-ups, whether it be mental push-ups to get some meat so you're not po as hell, right? Now, we always talk about being poor in terms of physical, the physical, like, how much money somebody has. But as I was thinking about the show this week, that came back to me. That concept of being po as hell.
Wow.
And so when I think about poverty, I think about an unwillingness to do the work mentally to get some meat on you. Unwillingness, because like I do, if you're thin physically, right, you could do something to get some meat on your bones, right? You might not ever be looking like LeBron or Arnold Schwarzenegger or something like that, but you can do something to get some meat on those bones. But it's going to take what? Discipline.
Work out, yeah.
It's going to take maybe getting some knowledge from some other people about what exercises you need to do that's going to give you results, et cetera, et cetera. How you feel about that?
Man, I feel enlightened as we do on this show by that. I think that's very, very insightful. And I also think that that's super interesting, because I've also come to learn that many times when we as people, as individuals, when we give our comments, it clearly is about where we are, not necessarily about what we're commenting on. So to even refer to somebody as po, or to comment that somebody else is in a particular financial situation, mentally or physically, or whatever the case may be, is an indictment on one's own character. When it comes to that mentality of poorness or po'ness or poverty. So sometimes we call other people out because it makes us feel better about ourselves. Wait, does that make sense, man? Did I drop that jewel, man? Did that make sense, Eric?
It makes sense to me, absolutely.
Okay, all right. I just want to see if it makes sense. Yeah, man.
I find that to be true, completely true.
Will we get into this conversation today? Will we get into some tips, tricks, strategies to overcome a poverty mindset?
We sure will. And you are rocking with the Money, Sex, Gen X podcast. You are in season 3 with me, Mr. Eric McLeod, and my co-host here, Big Stu. We are talking poverty mindsets today, and we're trying to get past the typical conversations that you hear about poverty. We're trying to push the envelope. Yeah. So if you are in those comments, Bridget, Rageb, all of whoever's out there, let us know how you define poverty.
Yeah.
I also would be interested to know, what have you done in your life that suggested that you are still in a poverty mindset? But yes, Big Stu, we're going to get into some tips and drop some jewels in that area.
Okay.
Now, let me ask you this. I want to get into this. So I like to talk about people who have high salaries because I feel like they get overlooked. What I consider a high salary personally is someone who makes about $150,000 a year or more, regardless, most people have 2 or 3 kids or whatever, but somebody who makes upwards $150,000 or more a year.
Okay.
Have you personally witnessed a lot of those people in your circle that you felt like had a poverty mindset, even though they had a quote unquote high income? And what did that look like?
Yeah. So let me, again, and recognizing my own potential self-indictment, having this conversation, I may have to indict myself a little. But let me tell you, I had a couple of, I've known a couple of people to play professional sports. I've personally known quite a few guys in the NBA, and I've known a handful of guys to play in the NFL. And I have heard firsthand stories of cats in the NBA locker room. First of all, I didn't know this at the time. I learned this, that during the season, the NBA players at the time, they were getting paid every 2 weeks.
Okay.
They do not get paid in the offseason. I didn't know that at the time. And I'm talking, this is mid-90s, and I'm learning about what I'm about to share with you right now. So I didn't know that they got paid every 2 weeks, paychecks. But I heard a story on multiple occasions of some guys being in the locker room like, hey, bro, Eric, let me hold 50,000 till we get to our next paycheck, till we get paid, bro.
Yep.
I gotta go do something for my mom. I'm low. Now, hold up. Now, you talking about somebody whose bi-weekly paycheck is $250,000.
Right.
I'm talking a low end. I'm not talking about the superstar player of the team. I'm talking about somebody regular. You probably know this now. I don't want to say any names, but have gone to other players and say, man, let me borrow 50,000. Let me get 100,000 till we get paid.
Yeah.
And that's what that looks like as a high earner.
Right.
I've also been in situations where I've seen rappers, blow through 100K in a month.
No doubt.
And literally be like, bro, to me, can I get $100? Let me get $100.
True indeed.
It's happening. It's happened to me. What? Let's go to. We got a comment.
Got a few comments. All right.
I do the try and keep cash thing to this day. Didn't realize it was a scarcity thing until you said so. Absolutely, it is. Absolutely, it is. Shout out. Thanks for being transparent, Mark. It absolutely, and that wasn't the right term. scarcity, acting like you're gonna run out. It's gonna leave you or something. No.
Right.
And then my man Stedman says, I personally don't feel like I have a poverty mindset, but it can be challenged. I know and feel that I've started to apply knowledge that will transgress me and my family from the whole ideal of living from check to check. This to me is an indicator that I am not within the mindset of impoverished mentality. That's brother Stedman sharing that as well.
Stedman, thank you for that comment. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I feel that, I wonder if being in a poverty mindset is something that maybe, when I was in a poverty mindset, I wonder if I would have admitted to it.
But are you still, before you go there, do you still have poverty mindset ways? Do you still kind of operate in them with that mindset at times, even if it shows up on occasion? Do you still operate like that?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I fight them, right? So it's like, I could sit here and be like, nah, I don't have a poverty mindset. But when you grew up with a poverty mindset,
come on, man,
you're gonna always be battling that. It's like if you had some kind of substance abuse addiction, you might kick it and move on and have a very fruitful life, but you're always gonna battle that. So I grew up, and I talked about this in previous seasons, we grew up with this, you look good at all costs. And that's no matter what. So like yesterday, I went to the mall. I went to the Low store. We grew up wearing a lot of polo. If I go into a polo store to this day, I had to fight myself yesterday not to purchase items that I knew I did not need.
Wow.
I mean, like picking items up, walking to the register, putting them back.
Damn.
Going in the dressing room, trying something on, and just sitting there like trying to convince myself of why I needed something that I know I did not need. And having to walk back out and put it back on the rack.
Now let me ask you, let me push you here a little bit. Now, so you're telling me one of your favorite brands, Ralph Lauren. We know that this is Big Low over here. We got Big Low next to me. Big Low is in the store. You can afford the merchandise. You can afford it. But you're trying to talk yourself out of it because purchasing it succumbs to your poverty mindset. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes. No question.
Wow.
Because I don't need it.
Oh, look at that. So buying products and services that you don't absolutely need is part of the mentality, poverty mindset.
For me.
Shit, not just for you. Not just for you.
I don't want to be judgmental here and say, well, this is what poverty is for every. I'm just talking about for Eric, because remember, we talked about in the beginning, part of this poverty mindset is like not reaching your full capability as a human being. So if I know and understand what a better use of this money is and decide to do the opposite of that, for me, that is definitely still acting within a poverty mindset. Because it's like, yo, if you want to get some, why not go get another share of Ralph Lauren stock?
Wow.
If you love the brand so much, why do you have to be a walking billboard? Why not actually get something out of the deal that can appreciate over time for yourself and your family? And so I know and understand that. The next person might not understand that.
That is a huge one, because I know, and I want to hear more about Angela Hampton is saying it's a feeling of guilt. I want to know specifically what she's saying is a feeling of guilt. And I know this too. Betty Nelson is saying, I do that too. Need versus want. So I knew growing up a lot of times that I spent a lot of time, particularly from that time period when I'm talking about no heat, no hot water time period in my life. When I'm in high school, I spent a lot of money trying not to look poor.
Okay. Yeah.
And so that's where some of that name brand stuff came from, or, the sneaker addiction came from, because I didn't want people to see me and see lack.
Yeah.
So I tried to cover up the lack.
Why? But why? I want to push you on that. Why not though? What was the reason for that?
Why didn't I want them to see lack?
Yes.
Because I thought that lack was something about, it would say something about me personally. Like it would be again, I'm gonna go back to the term that an indictment on my character. It would say something about me that I showed poverty. I showed this lack is the only word that I can really come up with. So I didn't want that. I didn't want the attention. So I did what I could, what I thought I could, instead of taking money and investing it in my future savings or physical investing, finance. You know, I threw the money away on products that gave me a facade of something that I wasn't.
Yeah.
Right.
That's real. I mean, did you feel like you, and I've talked about this before, but like, and I want to know this from you. I didn't even think, and this was part of the poverty mindset for me as a youth, I didn't think I had a future to look forward to.
Damn.
So why not go get the low? I'm not going to be here. I'm not, it amazes me how, and this is just how far gone I feel like my brother and I were. So I didn't even have an idea of being 40 years old when I was a child. It wasn't something, I know people now, they're young, they be like, yo, when I'm 40, I'm going to do X, Y, Z. We didn't have that. It was like everything is about, and that's part of why I see the poverty mindset now that we're talking about this. It's a very present-based point of view. It's like everything is about right now. I got to make sure people don't think I'm lacking right now. Because think about it, and I'm saying this to agree with, I'm sharing the mentality that you had, because it's like, now that we're older, wouldn't it have been more powerful to be like, I am lacking right now, but I'm not going to be lacking 10 years from now.
Yes.
You feel me? It's like, yeah, y'all laughing because I don't have the whatever on and all that, but I'm going to be straight 10 years from now. Where are you going to be? I wish we had kind of had that point of view.
And where do your I'm sure you share this content, these ideologies with your children. Do they seem to get it?
No, I think I don't think they get it, because I think it's hard for them to get into that point of view that I was in. I think it's difficult for them to understand. I mean, I've been talking to them about these concepts since they were a baby, so they're probably, when I bring it up now, they're looking at me like, we already talked about this. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if you were the same, but I didn't have that introduced to me. They've had it introduced to them since they were babies.
Okay. Because I was going to ask, like, if you were 2 generations in poverty, according to your actual factuals, you're 2 generations in poverty, and many of us, I don't care where you fall, many of us Black folk in America, Black Americans, we are more than 2 generations in poverty.
Yes.
Right. So most of us are more than 2 generations in poverty. How do you get out of the poverty mindset? How do you change that mindset? And Angela, I showed this a little bit earlier. Angela came back she said, debating that purchase when you know you need it and can afford it. Or I wonder if she said, when you know you need it. I wonder if she meant, you don't need it and can afford it. When you know you don't need it and can't afford it. I don't want to put words in her mouth, but she had to tell me if that's what she meant. So I understand that feeling of guilt when you can't afford it and you're trying to decide whether or not you're going to purchase something. Thank you for clearing that up. And so that's interesting. But how do you get out of, look, man, we're Gen Xers, bro. We're not in middle school having this conversation. We're clearly in our 40s. Clearly in our 40s, still figuring this out. So how do you break it? How do you break the poverty mindset?
That's a good question. I think it looks different for everybody. I think the first step for me is just making sure that I understood what that looked like for me. I had to really break myself down and be like, yo, you're a clown. Like you're operating as sort of like a clown or a person who doesn't feel like they have a future. Are you ready to stop? Like I think part of it is having those real hardcore conversations with yourself and being like, you need to really think about your ways and actions and how you want to proceed. Because there's been times where I had that conversation with myself and I'm like, nah, I still want to proceed how I'm proceeding. And that's fine. That's honest, right? I'm going to still go look good. I'm going to still go get the whips and all that. That's what I want to do. I'm not ready to stop yet. So I think first you have to be ready for something different.
Is it a thing of, do you ever get this feeling? So I listen to like Dave Ramsey and I listen to, I forget the sister's name. She's not a sister. The white girl that's always, oh my God, somebody tell me her name. She's always talking about money. And then Robert Kiyosaki. Was it Susie Orman?
Yeah.
Yeah, Susie Orman, Dave Ramsey, Robert Kiyosaki.
Oh, I love Robert Kiyosaki.
Dave Ramsey and Susie Orman, when I hear them talk about saving, right, or becoming wealthy, it always feels like they're talking about denying myself some pleasure. Like Susie Orman will say, like, bro, if you don't have, 5 years of retirement of your annual income, you don't deserve you shouldn't be going on vacation. If Dave Ramsey kind of talks like that too, of this living within your means. But Robert Kiyosaki is always talking about, instead of saying, I don't have it, figure out, what do you need to do to get it to afford this thing that you want for yourself? Is that part of it for you too? Or is that just me that feels like sometimes I'm denying myself, which makes the decision to think long-term more difficult?
Yeah, I think there is a denial that comes into play. I mean, for me, when I was making my transition, I made a concerted effort to deny myself because I hadn't done that in the past. It's like, at some point, don't we need to deny ourselves so that we can move forward? You'll survive. You'll be okay. I'll give you an example. I decided to drive a Chevy Malibu for a few years. And even people in my family, they talked about me like a dog.
Wow.
You hear me? And anybody who knows me, I bring this up all the time because it's something that was very significant for me. But I knew why I was doing it, right? I felt empowered because I'm like, I can get another whip like I normally would have, but I'm not doing that this time. I want you all to run your mouth, talk trash and all that. And I actually am saving more money by having a conservative vehicle, right? Mm-hmm. But that was a process of breaking me down too, because my ego was hurt. It's like they're saying this and it hurt me. It did bother me, but I needed to go through that love, hella right process to come out right and exact. Because think about it, like what you were saying when you were a kid, and we all went through this. You're trying your best for nobody to say nothing about you.
Yeah.
Stu is always fresh. She always got money, and all. We're trying to avoid the opposite of that. Stu is broke. Stu's look busted. Stu don't have this. Stu don't have. So what I did is I threw myself into the fire of being talked about. And now I could care less. Even though initially, keeping it a buck, I was very, very sensitive. But now that made me a stronger businessman. It made me have a stronger wealth mindset. Now, I like this question. I want to get this question that Mark Sanders put in. He said, when is it okay to buy what you don't need guilt-free? I want to talk about that. How would you answer that question, Steve?
When is it okay to buy what you don't need guilt-free? That is a great question. So I've got to pay attention to your son gave us, like all that dead space in our conversations. I'll be thinking, so try to think faster. Right? So when is it okay to buy what you don't need guilt-free? I think it's always okay. Look, at the end of the day, I think, Mark, this is a great question. It's always okay when you're okay with it. But if you got a problem with it, it's a problem. period, right? But then it also goes up against like, not goes against, but measures up against what's your financial goal, right? What are your financial goals? I came up with a concept that I have yet to live up to consistently. I live up to it partially, not consistently. And it's the 3 times money rule. And the 3 times money rule says, I think I may have shared this with you, Eric. The 3 times money rule says you don't buy anything for yourself unless once you complete the purchase, you have 3 times that purchase amount left in the bank. So if you want $1,000 bed, you don't buy the bed unless after you've made that purchase, you've got $3,000 left in the bank or left in that account. That's, and ideally my mine gets to 5x the purchase. So if it's a candy bar, if you got little money, if it's big money, if you got a boat, it's a vacation. After you pay for this $2,500 vacation, will you have $7,500 left? So I think that's, for me, that becomes the guilt-free moment, guilt-free purchases for me. I'm the guy that when I go on vacation, Eric, good about, I don't want to be counting money. I want that guilt-free experience, but that does come from, I think, Mark, a sense of planning. Eric, I don't know how you would answer this question. How would you answer that question?
I would answer that question 2 different ways. So the first way I would say is, here's how I approach buying stuff I don't need. I will have an asset that pays for what it is I want to buy.
Okay. Here you go.
Yeah.
Next week's topic a little bit. You're getting into next week's topic a little bit. Okay.
So that goes into having some kind of asset that produces income, right? That way I can justify it better because I'm not using the money that I already had put up. I'm using something that I purchased as an asset that's generating my ability to buy a car, a boat, a shirt, whatever it is. I can justify that because this is sort of extra money that I'm using something to generate money to purchase.
Okay.
The other way I would use is, this is more of the technical way. You want to have an emergency fund set up. I mean, all of the big financial gurus always say this stuff, and I think they go too far sometimes, but I do agree with this. I do think it's good. Say your monthly expenses are $400 a month. You might be still in school or whatever. Do whatever you have to do to get $2,400 in the bank, and then maintain that. Anything else is extra. When you get to $3,000, go buy you a low shirt. Go buy whatever you want to buy, but you don't need to feel guilty because you got your emergency fund intact. Now you can go buy whatever else you want. There's no guilt because that's taken care of.
That's important, man, because you brought up something earlier about, you said when you were driving to Malibu, your ego initially was hurt. Absolutely. When they were talking about it. So I think pride, and I've been preaching this for the last couple of months, your pride and ego have a lot to do with these decisions as well. And so when Mark asks about when is it okay, Angela actually brings up a good point here. Angela says, when you can afford it and you're not skipping another bill to make that purchase, that's a good. And then even Stedman chimes in and says, you have to make an effort to deny yourself for a greater cause. And that's the part that I want to get to, because sometimes what has happened with me is I get a little cushion, and then I sometimes lose control. It's like, oh, I got this cushion. I got a cushion. I don't have to I don't have to check the tag. I don't have to. We got it. And then sometimes you look up, and that ego has gotten in the way, and now the cushion is gone.
Yeah.
Right. And so this poverty mindset really is something that we got to make up mentally to have our own kill switch.
Yeah.
Like when it's like, it's got to be that important. It's got to be that important to you. It's got to be that important to you.
Absolutely.
It's just, otherwise we will make up all kinds of stuff to make ourselves feel good and
easily.
All kinds of right.
I almost did that yesterday. So it can happen at any point. It was like, come on, man. But I want to get to these a couple of comments that Betty made. Betty Nelson, she said, "I do that too. Need versus want."
Oh yeah, we looked at that one. Get this one right here from Betty.
And then she says, "I used to never look at the price tag of what I purchased. I had to learn to stop doing this, even if I could afford the items. That habit had to be broken. Now I know exactly what I'm willing to spend and budget for play money."
Budget.
True indeed. And I'm a witness to that. She's definitely, I remember being with Betty, we would be in New York, and she would go in the store and see something and just snatch it down. You know, go in the dressing room, start putting on shoes and all that. And I'm looking like, how much is that? You know, how much is that bag or that shoe? She already at the register.
Yeah.
Waiting for them to tell her, like, you know, it's $500 or whatever it is. I've seen her do that. And I also have bear witness to her now. She's not buying anything unless she knows she's within the budget. And like she said, and this goes back to what Mark is saying, once you have your foundation taken care of, you got to play money now. You can play a little bit. Because, you know, it's not realistic to just be in a situation where you're not giving yourself anything, because I feel like that makes you relapse even faster, right? But you get your foundation set, and then you play for a little while. Now, here's what I had to do. I think you can go too far with the saving too, right? What I would do once I got into more of a wealth mindset, I would save everything. Don't buy anything. And I think I had to learn, remember how to play, right? Because that's just going to keep us on track. You got this money put up. You did everything you were supposed to do. Go ahead and play. Allow yourself to play. And then you go ahead and do whatever else you need to do. So there's a balance. You need that balance.
Now, I've been called out a couple of times by somebody very, very close to me. And you would know a little bit about this, Eric, because you and I have worked very closely on a couple of things. But falling back into those financial traps, if you will, I've been called. I was called out once for being comfortable in my, dysfunction. Let's call it what it is. Then that financial dysfunction, being comfortable in that finance, because, if that's how you were known to, is that how you were raised and that's became your norm, you can talk about not wanting to be broke and not wanting to be without. But then if you're always there, then you must be comfortable in that situation. And I'm saying there's no way in hell I'm comfortable being here. It's just taking me some time to get out of it. The poverty mindset. How much of the poverty mindset, in your professional opinion, because you are the founder and CEO of Hubris Global Wealth Management. You know what you're talking about. You know what you're talking about. So in your professional opinion, how much is childhood traumas or childhood raising have to do with today's poverty mindset on an individual?
I would say 90% of it. 90% of it is based on childhood traumas, childhood behaviors, and childhood standards, honestly. I had to say that to myself. Like, you are 30 years old living by a 20-year-old man's standard. So our standards. But I feel like, from my professional opinion, I've sat down with hundreds of people and looked at their financial situation. The biggest factor is not even, to me, though, even though that's the genesis of it, the biggest factor of why people stay there, though, to me, is the unwillingness to forget about all of that.
So what the unwillingness? So some people want to go back and dig up the old to get to the root. You're suggesting, in your personal opinion, your professional opinion, you're suggesting forget all of that.
Forget all of that, because the people that I've worked with that have been less successful are the people who keep talking about it over and over and over. They let it define them. The people who do better are the people who, like, okay, I acknowledge that. I'm going to pause on even thinking about any of that stuff. And is it going to happen overnight? No. But when you continue to talk about it over and over, you're still in a poverty mindset right in that moment. They'll say stuff like, I don't do well with money, and I know I'm gonna mess this money up. And it's like you are still trapped in that mindset from 20 years ago because you're still talking. You have to, and I know this stuff sounds kind of corny, but like how people have these daily affirmations. I used to do this stuff. I would look in the mirror and be like, I am not a prisoner of my past. Mm-hmm. I am going to be wealthy. I am going to stop worrying about what people think about me and using that as the reason for me to make decisions. Let me tell you something. Those are some powerful exercises to do. You don't have to tell anybody that you're doing them, but I can tell you firsthand that they work because you're putting out into the universe a totally different book that you want to write. This is a whole new book. That book is closed. You already read that book. We're doing a new book now, writing a whole new book, new chapters, new plot lines, new storylines, and new characters.
Ooh, come on. You just dropped some major jewels on that one.
This is real.
New plot line, new storylines, and new characters.
New characters, because you might have to distance yourself from those people who are trying to keep you in that old story.
And honestly, I want to say that one of those new characters is going to be us. Absolutely. Because I cannot continue to do the same things that I used to do. I have to do different, which is going to look different to most.
That's true.
Not going to be doing the same shit that I used to do.
Right. And understanding that if you don't watch it, you could go to your grave doing these things for the rest of your life.
Damn.
Like I had to sit with myself about that. Like you could be 60 years old, still putting a half a tank of gas in, still spending money that's neat, still paying a car note late. All this crazy stuff. I want to tell you something else that I had a fear about, and it's something that I still fight. So recently, I just paid off a car that I had, right? I was like, in my mind, thinking that if I pay this car off, something's going to happen.
Damn.
This is totally mindsets from years ago, right? And I had to stop myself like, Eric, come on, man. You got the money to pay off the car. Whatever is going to happen is going to happen whether you pay off the car or not. You'd rather keep paying a car note and you got way more money than needed to pay the car. But I'm saying that to say we have to remember some of this stuff you're going to have to fight the rest of your life. But what I do is when I catch myself in those moments, that lets me know I need to take in some additional mental food.
Meaning what? What does that mean?
Read a Dave Ramsey book. I might have to go watch a Dr. Boyce Watkins video. You know what I mean? I might have to go watch somebody on YouTube that I respect to get back in the right mindset and nourish myself. Because remember, you don't want to be po as hell.
You got to talk yourself off the ledge, man.
Without
so
nourish.
You go feed that. That's awesome.
And that's something that I talk to my kids about, like that I don't think they fully understand. Like we don't understand sometimes that there's different types of food that we eat on a physical level. But I think sometimes we have a hard time understanding there's a lot of junk food that you can take in mentally too. Right? Eating a lot of potato chips and candy or whatever mentally. Because in our society, as we all know, you're told if you got some money, you need to look like that.
Damn.
Right.
Definitely as Black folks, we was told. I know I was told that when I was born, you got to show up a certain way. You got to look good. You cannot be out here looking raggedy, period. You got to keep it together. Super important. I don't think I'm going to let that part go. I really tried to let that part go. Not care so much about my appearance, but I care. And I'm probably ain't going to let that one go. But
you know what? I want to ask you about that. I want to push you on a little bit. So, is there a difference between caring and trying to appease your audience? So let me say, push a little further too, because I've been there. So is there a reason why we think that presenting ourselves and being clean and combing your hair and looking presentable is the same as going out buying thousands of dollars worth of clothes and putting them on and going outside?
No, so okay.
This look presentable.
Initially you had me, but then you changed it up a little bit. So one, forget the name brand. I recommend, and I will tell all of my children and anybody that comes before me, do your best to look your best with what you have. I don't care about name brand, but be clean, be kept, right? Clearly, be clean, be kept. So that's right there. Is there, I don't necessarily see it the same way. Now, I think you can overdo it, you know. I may have overdone it this morning, knowing that I'm coming to the home office studio slash TV room slash changing room to do this show today, right? And I still put on cologne, right? Like, who cares, right? I'm not going anywhere. But I did that because it made me feel good about me, right? So, but that may be going a little bit too far. I don't necessarily see it the same as spending thousands of dollars on clothes, but I think there's a philosophy about just be clean, be kept, be well kept. I've never been a trendy fashion dude for that reason. I am a classic dude. And honestly, if you pay attention close enough, I've had clothes in my closet I've had for years because they do not go out of style. They do not run with the trends. All right. So that's been part of it too. And I think that's actually not part of a poverty mindset. I could be wrong. Anybody can challenge me on it. But I think that's part of that's just how you're supposed to roll. You should be clean and kept and you shouldn't be out here just looking raggedy.
Okay. Well, that's something to think about. I think what I was trying to get to is we can be presentable without spending thousands of dollars.
I think so. Yeah. So that's what it ain't got nothing to do with the clothes. Be just take it. And even to the point of the guys, I got over the guys with the haircuts like Jimmy Butler, looking like Bill Cosby and Sidney Poitier from Uptown Saturday Night Live. You know, I'm even past that. Even that can have a sense of keptness. You know what I mean? So just be kept, be clean. You don't have to be fat, up to date with styles. You can just work with what you got, keep it together, and you'll be all right.
Yeah, one thing I think is cool about Chicago, like if we're talking about clothes, like you can get some really nice clothes in Chicago for cheap.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe are a little patient and look around a little bit. You can still get all the brand name clothes that you want at a really, really low price.
And one thing I like about Chicago style, Chicago fashion, is something I learned to help. And this might be part of a poverty mindset. Quite honestly, it's like how to put pieces together. Like, and I guess actually I think it would be because I remember having two suits when I was younger, early 20s. And then it was important to, I had two suits, one pair of shoes, but I had a bunch of shirts. So I could change the shirts up and the ties, a ton of ties, change up the shirt, change up the tie, and it makes the whole suit look brand new. And so I extended two suits for a long time for couple of weeks worth of work by changing up just the shirt and the tie. And I know part of that was having a poverty mindset because I didn't have a lot of money to spend on suits. I just didn't. So we had to make do. So change up the shirts and ties. And you can extend that suit and you put it in the dry cleaners every couple of weeks and make it work. And that speaks to Chicago fashion because we can take a bunch of pieces. We can take plaids and polka dots and put it together in Chicago and make a fashion statement out of it. And some of it may just simply be coming out of a poverty mindset.
That's right. That's right. You all are tuned in to season 3 of the Sex Gen X podcast. We are having a really deep conversation about poverty. We got people chiming in the comments. This is lovely. So we're going to start trying to put a pin in this conversation. So I want to get back to the middle class people that we were originally talking about. And I want to ask you, Big Stu, from your experiences specifically for the middle class, what are some things that people can do if they've already acknowledged, hey, yeah, I have a poverty mindset and I want to change it? What can they do to get into a different mindset?
Well, I think I'm going to take one from something that you've already said, and that's be very, very mindful of what you're feeding yourself.
Okay.
So read what you believe whatever financial level you desire to be at in your life, do what those people do. Read what they read, watch what they watch, try to have the conversations that they have. So the second suggestion I would make is be that first. Be wealthy first. So get the wealthy mindset first. Don't wait on the money or the job or that contract to start acting or being opposite of poverty, which is healthy and wealthy is the opposite of poverty, healthy and wealthy. So be healthy and wealthy minded now. Okay. And then the third suggestion I would make would be to affirm, as you've already said, affirm yourself. Tell yourself a different story. Retrain that brain.
Yes.
I'm a huge proponent of manifesting and affirmations, personal affirmations. I'm a money magnet. I'm a magnet for money. Money loves me. I'm a love magnet. I'm a magnet for love. Love loves me. I'm an organized magnet. I'm a magnet for organization. Organization loves me. Those are some of my personal affirmations that I look dead in the mirror, eyeball to eyeball, and affirm daily.
It works. Okay. Everybody out there, take notes. Like Stedman said, here we go. Take notes. These are because it's one thing to tell people, "Oh, you're in a poverty mindset," but the $1 million question is, "Hey, what can I do? What can I do?"
What would you suggest to the people, man?
I'll tell you a few things that I did. So one, I kept a journal. For some people, even my younger self, that might sound soft. But let me tell you something. It ain't nothing soft about it, man. I've quadrupled my net worth keeping a journal and just being in there saying stuff like, man, I almost, today I bought some sneakers that I didn't need. I'm going to do better next time. And having that journal, the other good thing about that is I can look back 5 years ago and see the progression. It doesn't have to be long, something short, but you're just really trying to get to like, where's your mind at today? What challenges did you have today? What did you do good? What did you do bad? And being able to look back. The second thing is you definitely want to put yourself in a situation where you said this, you want to expose yourself to some new people. Mm-hmm. Now, this doesn't happen. We're in COVID, so you might not be able to go around people, but like there's so many people out here today that have videos on different topics. I talked about this podcast called Earn Into Wealth.
Yeah.
If you're out there and you're on Instagram or YouTube, Earn Into Wealth is a great example of a podcast where they don't just tell you what you should do. They bring on guests and they talk about specific things like how to lease a car, how to pick a stock. Those videos are pretty short, but you can walk away with some definite jewels that you could use the rest of your life.
That's great.
Yeah, find that knowledge. Find those people to be around, whether it's digitally or in person. Find those people.
Journal and expand your network. What else you got?
Yeah, I'm big on the affirmations. We already talked about that. The last thing I would say is if you're trying to get into a wealth mindset, set some goals. And that's one of those things where people always talk about, set some goals, But listen, it's not about doing something to appease other people. These are just personal goals, but you want to know for 2021, what am I actually trying to accomplish? Mm-hmm. It could be something as simple as, hey, this year I want to get some life insurance on me and my wife. Mm-hmm. Only you and your wife know about it. Your wife might not even know, but it gives you a way to say, hey, am I progressing? Actually moving forward or not? Another goal could be, I'm going to buy one stock every month of the year in 2021, right? And you get to look back and be accountable to yourself about what you want to do to move to that next level. So yeah, set some goals.
That's great. I want to throw a bonus one in there. You helped me with this. And I'm going to be fully transparent in this moment. And prior to my work with you, I had a couple of budgets, but I was not keeping up with them daily.
Okay.
And a couple of times I've worked with doing a budget daily, looking, not just doing a budget, but looking at that budget every single day. Now, I fell off from that the last quarter of 2020, but I've recommitted to being on that budget every day. And I'll tell you now, this is definitely an ego thing, Eric. It's fun for me to sit down and actually look at a budget. You know why? Because I feel like that's what rich people do. I feel like that's what wealthy people do.
Yes.
And so I have to, again, you don't wait. You get it now. You start the behaviors now. So every day I'm looking at the budget. Because I learned, even though I may not have spent money one day, money is moving. Money is moving in that account, in that bank. Something that I purchased last week just hit today, and you got to be on top of it. So the budgeting piece is huge to getting out of that poverty mindset.
Yeah, man. It was a joy watching you go through that process of, I always liked working with you because you were always honest about how you felt at any given moment. And to see you go ahead and embrace, it wasn't that you didn't know about budgeting. You're a very knowledgeable person. It wasn't that you hadn't budgeted in the past, but it was just that openness. And this leads us to something else of being accountable.
Being accountable.
Because, you and I, we were working from a shared budget, so I could see what was going on. You could see. And I would add that as my bonus. Be accountable to somebody outside of yourself as well. It might, whoever it is that you trust. But yeah, the budgeting is a big deal. And it reminds me of something that I used to have going on with me when I was in that poverty mindset. I used to get a lot of NSF.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my God.
PCF Bank used to light me up.
And they loved you. They loved you.
And I don't know what it was with TCF, but man, they just, I was making some bad choices, but they knew how to get you in the negative. That's for sure.
Man. It's like they worked it. Now, I will tell, there's this rumor going around that Chase Bank is, and I'm not with Chase Bank, there's a rumor going around that Chase Bank is in trouble for overcharging their customers, and you're supposed to file some sort of claim to get some of these, not just overdraft fees, but some of these bank fees back. I'm not with Chase Bank. That, and I said it's just a rumor because I don't know it to be true, but I did read that, and I heard a couple of people talking about it. But at my own bank currently, they have made some of their own mistakes in this last quarter. I know it because I've come a long way from where I used to be about this. And I've called my bank on a number of occasions just over the last 3 months of last year. And I've gotten every single bank charge that they attempted to put on me reversed. Every single one. And I say that to say, everybody, do not be afraid to call your bank. Do not be afraid to go in your bank and meet your branch manager. I know my branch manager by name. Okay. Everyone in the bank now knows me by name. And that was something, talk about poverty mindset. I used to be afraid to go into the bank. I just wanted to deal with the ATM because I didn't have to face anyone, as I was sometimes knowingly doing some overdraft stuff on my own. But I decided a part of that to get to know those folks because it addresses the accountability piece. I'm interacting with humans now.
Yes.
And so my reputation is on the line, and I wanted to be in charge of that. So I started going inside the bank and meeting people. So go get to know your bankers if you don't know who your banker is.
Great strategy. And I've had a lot of people that I've dealt with that have confirmed that Betty Nelson says, check your bank account daily. Yes, as part of that daily budgeting. That when they go into the negative, they'll call in and get it reversed. To your point, sometimes just developing a relationship or being willing to get on the phone and say, hey, look, I know I actually am responsible for this NSV. Can you reverse it this time? What I've told, especially, I don't know what all Chase got going on, but Chase specifically, I've had people tell me was really good about reversing things. When you're in the wrong, they'll reverse it. Like, okay, we'll reverse it as a courtesy for you. So don't be afraid to do that. That might be $20 or whatever that you get back into your account just for making a 5-minute phone call.
Absolutely. It's your money. It's your money.
Yes, sir. What a great conversation, man. So to wrap this up, because we got to go into our characters from corporate segment. If somebody came to you now and said, Big Stu.
Wait, is this your burning question?
This is my burning question for this week. Thank you for reminding me to properly title it. But this question is for Big Stu. Big Stu.
Wow.
Why is the middle class and upper middle class still in a poverty mindset?
Wow.
A burning question for this week.
Wow. It's I'm not even gonna give the answer. The perfect answer is right here. Because we know how to operate in poverty and it's comfortable. And we won't make the change until we get tired. That's so I didn't even answer. I alley-ooped it to Angela Hampton. There's the answer. Because it's what we know. It's what we know.
What we know. Okay.
You didn't expect it to go that simply, did you?
I like it. Simple is better. I love it. You answered the question. You know what I mean? I'm gonna just put my 2 cents in there. I'm gonna piggyback off Angela too, because you're not tired.
You ain't tired. You okay?
You're not tired yet. Yeah, you still want to look good for people or whatever. I don't want to do it like that. Whatever the reason is for you, you're not tired.
Maybe you just ain't know. Maybe you just didn't. Maybe you thought you were alone. Maybe you thought you were in this by yourself. Maybe you don't. Maybe you've created a world where you're the only one that's broke. You're the only one that's dealing poorly with your finances. I talk about it, your relationship with your money. What is your relationship with your finances? And a lot of people don't look at their money relationships they don't look at it that way. And so if you ask yourself, what's your relationship with your money? Probably many of us will find that it's toxic. And unfortunately, you can't divorce your money. You can't break up with your money. So you have to fix your toxic relationship with your money. Otherwise, you are opting in to die with a poverty mindset.
No question. Perfectly stated. You're opting in. That's right. Wow. What a conversation, man. Stedman says exceptionally good. Angela Hampton said this was good. Yeah, it was good. I really thank you all for chiming in. This has been what I love about doing these segments and shows with you, Big Stu, is that you and I, for whatever reason, we're willing to be honest about our own issues. That honesty is refreshing to me because, when you go on social media, we're not judgmental on the show, but, there's a lot of, I'm doing this, I'm doing good, and all of that. And some of that is real, right? But then you got the other side of it, which is, I might be doing good, but I'm still struggling in these couple of areas, And I think that's what I love about our show. It's like, we're doing good, but I'm struggling a little bit. I might have struggled yesterday when I went to the Polo store or whatever, or I might have struggled when I drove past the Mercedes dealership or whatever it is. I'm still a work in progress.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I enjoy sharing this stage with you as well because you bring so much knowledge, quite honestly, to the table, brother. And you are a fact finder. You're not just going off the top of your head, which has honestly forced me to do a lot of the same. So now I'm stepping up my research game. And so I don't want to talk about anything that I haven't done some due diligence on.
There you go. Do the knowledge.
Yeah. Even though I think people I like my spontaneity sometimes.
People do like that. It makes for a great. We're wrapping the show up. We're going to get into our characters from corporate segment. We do have a submission for today. So our characters from corporate submission today is we have a person that wrote into us. She says, hey, Eric, love the show and the insight that you and Big Stu deliver every week. Much appreciated. Okay. She says, I'm a Black woman, millennial, age 35 years old. I currently work and live in Detroit, Michigan. Okay, shout out to D-Town. I am a corporate analyst. And my question today is based on pre-COVID when my company was coming into the office daily. Okay, so cool. She says, I pride myself on being cordial and trying to speak to people when I see them around the office. Most people speak back to me or at least acknowledge me in some way when I speak, like a smile or a nod. Now, don't get it twisted. I could very easily not speak and be just fine.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. But she says, anyway, there's one person who I have spoke to many times around the office who has yet to speak back or acknowledge me in any way.
Terrible.
She closes this out by saying, he is a Black man, so this bothers me very deeply as a Black woman. Am I tripping here? Or is this guy a character from corporate?
So she's tripping because the only other Black dude don't speak to her.
That's what she said.
Well, she tripping. She need to let it go. Get over it.
So she's saying, okay, I come into the office, I speak to everybody speaks back to me, but this one dude, he don't want to speak, blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, I'm going to agree with Big Stu. I do think you're tripping a little bit because if it was me, I'm not going to keep speaking to somebody that doesn't want to speak back.
Right.
You know what I mean? And who knows what the reason is? Who cares?
Right.
Who knows what's going on in his head? He might be thinking that he actually does acknowledge you or do something to speak back. And you never know.
He might have a woman at the crib that, like, if you look at any one of them sisters,
right.
He better not be in there speaking to nobody.
That's true.
He just to his face. He just, hey, I don't owe you nothing. Just see, we as Black folks got to chill out sometime. And I be on that too. I think you don't have to. You ain't got to speak just because you don't. That's not a thing. You don't know what another person is up to. So no, you don't have to speak. I mean, it's okay. It's okay. You never know what they're going through.
It's cool, man. You like you said, you don't know what's going on. I mean, I've personally been in a situation where I decided not to really speak too deeply to certain women because I knew I was attracted to them. You know what I mean? So, and I wasn't trying to go there. So it's really nothing to keep. There's no reason to get too deep into any conversations with them.
Mm-hmm. I'm just gonna get myself in trouble.
I wouldn't go as far as not to acknowledge them at all, but I would nod or smile or something and then know in my head it's like, keep it moving. Right? So it could be that. It could be that simple.
Right. Okay. All right. So there we go. Our characters from corporate. She's tripping.
She's tripping. You're the character.
Right. Yeah, your character. Fall back. You all right. Just relax.
Relax.
Stay out that man video. You don't know what he got going on. Leave him alone. He cool. And don't take away from his Blackness either.
Right.
Take away from his Blackness.
Yeah, relax. All right, man. So we had a really good show today. I don't know if you had a cool artist for us to go out on today.
Yeah, we're gonna go out on the artist that actually we came in on.
Okay.
We're gonna go in with our artist of the season, Mr. Gino Pacino. You can hear all of this music on musicspool.com.
Music's Pool, Gino Pacino.
Gino Pacino Pure. And Eric, let's vibe out to Pure. We heard we'll give him a different one. Well, because we came in on Pure. So let's give him prayer. We're gonna give him prayer. It's Sunday.
All right.
Here we go. We're gonna give him a little prayer.
Pray for success, cause success is what I had to be. Pray for success, cause success is what I had to be. As I grew up, I watched you put that dope in your veins. Hurt, pain, cold, game. You placed before me. Promise myself that was something that I never be. Can't grieve. Promise my kids that I will never leave this earth before I leave legacy in your hand. Promise myself to myself as a plan for success, cause success is what I had to be. Pray for success, cause success is what I had to be.
That's Prayer from Gino Pacino. They can hear the rest of that on Pool, man.
Gino is from Chicago, right?
Gino from Chicago, from Inglewood.
Shout out to Gino and Chicago and Inglewood. Man, that is a great track. I like it. It's hard. I like the one-word titles.
Prayer.
It's great. It's great. Okay. Sir, do you have any comments as we end out episode 1?
But I'm glad we had it. Season 3, episode 1 is in the books, baby.
In the books. Tune in next week for our second episode, 10 things that they don't tell you about the stock market. Uh-oh. We're not doing the cookie cutter conversations. We're going to get into some real nitty gritty topics related to that. 10 things they don't tell you about the stock market next week.
Until next time, everybody.
That raw